Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing today? Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. Morning, morning. How many of you haven't slept yet? How many of you haven't slept yet? I feel like I'm going to be disappointed with this answer, aren't I? Y'all need to be getting some sleep. Why are you awake? It is 3:42 a.m., meaning it's probably even worse wherever you are. You just woke up? See, that I'm okay with. Bunch of dorks is what you are. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me go through real quick and turn off a few things though, because I was running a little bit late this morning, trying to get together some breakfast that turned out absolutely awfully. That's okay. Sometimes that happens. You're allowed to mess up your breakfasts, to have issues with some of the stuff working. My new short, which one? Which one made you cry? Hopefully not the one where I told you to lay in bed. It just so happens that I was using subpar ingredients and I had to get other things set up at the same time, so it just did not work. Turn off all the TTS requests. We'll leave the autos. Move Christopher Walken. You will remove nerd voice and whiny voice, because both of those can't really be done at a soft volume, and that'll do. I'm glad you are. I was making frog noises, and that reminds you of actual frogs. Alright, we gotta do our usual thing. You know what it is. We're gonna go through everybody who has checked in. I'm gonna say hello to all of you lovely, lovely people. And of course, congratulate those who got here first, second, and third. So, congratulations, Catherine, for getting first. Second, Luna Rain. And Silver Vang, thank you for getting third. Surprised y'all got it in the right order this time. Good morning, Katamia. Thank you for checking in, and thank you for checking in, Emperor and Cottage. And good morning, Poison and Divine. Good morning, My Chemical Flame and Ziggy and Olive and Kai and Butter. Good morning, Lozzie and Ellie and Full Metal Brook. Good morning, Onyx, Akona, and Naptime. Morning, Gojo, Pan, Luxura, Nerdy Fandom, Sinful. Good morning, Addie, Chelsea, Assassin, Julia, Vividly. I noticed some newer names there. Lovely to see you all, though. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Morning, Medusa. Lovely to meet you. Alania, and good morning, Alania. Midnight Rose. Lovely name. Lovely name. So, this morning I plan. Oh, and I did end up making myself a jelly sandwich, so thank you for the follow. I did at least get that. Oh. I do think it's funny that lags out the model every time, but then it works fine afterwards. Just that initial Twitch connection. Alright, so plan for today. I think I just want to do more Crime Scene Cleaner, honestly. It's a relaxing game. I enjoy playing it a lot. You have a massive area to clean this time around. I did like that other game we're playing, Vintage Story, but my brain is just not up for thinking right now. My brain is mostly empty. Thank you for the head pats, by the way. Thinking is always hard. Thinking is never not hard. I don't know who invented thinking, but Mr. Think, whoever invented thinking. How dare he? How dare he? How dare he? Also, I have been looking in the art channel on the Discord, and the art y'all are doing is absolutely amazing. I hope you know I do really, really appreciate it. I love seeing all the work you all are putting into things. Cassie, I think it's really funny. I was watching a video where the guy was trying to describe voice acting. He was like, make the sound of a nod. And I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense to me. And the guy was like, knots don't make sound. And I stopped. I thought for a second. I'm like, oh, knots don't make sound. Why do my knots make sound? Get some sleep, Vividly. Get some sleep. I know why mine make noise. Because I'm a VTuber and I've watched other VTubers and other VTubers make their knots make sound. I get cagey. But yes. Who's a silly bunny? I saw something say silly bunny. Wait a second. I lost the silly bunny. Wait, there it is. I agree, Poison. Not a cat boy, but nice try. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Vanya. How you doing, sweetie? Thank you for the beds, Butter Tom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright, go get more sleep, Vividly. Be good, be good. Dog ears. Not a dog either, but they're dog ears. They're wolf ears. Understandable, understandable. Okay. Oh, it's doing that thing again, isn't it? I don't know what you're talking about. My tail totally doesn't wag when I'm having. I'm sorry to hear that's going on. I hope things get better there. Practice always makes people better. Okay. Let's bring up the game. I think it's in the right track. Alright, it should be lower volume than the music. Yes. Perfect. Alright, are you ready? How did singing along to Wicked go? Did you have fun? Thank you for the lurk nap time. Alright, 1 second while I push back my hair. There we go. Get some more sleep, Addie. Get some more sleep.
Probably died in an explosion, along with all the electricity.
Oh, cottage fan. That sounds interesting. Take a look. I did have my fluffy curls in my face. Every once in a while, I'm like, why is my tracking so bad? And I'm like, oh, because all my hair is in my face. That'll explain it. Good morning, Akami. My day's okay. Messed up my breakfast this morning, but then I made a little jelly sandwich, so it is a-okay. I do wish I had some peanut butter, but I might have eaten the jar of peanut butter. Yes, I have long curly hair. I might have just eaten the... That's why I shouldn't get crunchy peanut butter, because it's so nice to just eat out of the tub. Yes, Neb. I am very white. You're gonna eat me out of the dark? Don't eat me. Cannibalism. Not allowed. This might surprise you, Chad. Am white. Hair care routine? Depends on the day. I have a base conditioner that I usually use, as well as a little gel and curling solution. I have a hair mask that I use about like once a month. Some oils that I use when I'm not, doing a full-on hair cleaning thing. I have a refreshing spray. There's a lot of stuff. It's curls. It's curls, honey.
Facing the man above. He must have been the one who shot him.
Curls will always give back the amount of work you put into them, but they'll always look good no matter what. Vonnie, I love you. Well, that's your discretion, Vonnie. I used to braid them a lot. Nice. I don't braid my hair. That takes a lot of time and effort that I'm not willing to put into it. I don't like delicate work. I like just soak my hair in things and be done. I think we're good over here. Nice. Nice part about this place is it really does not need a lot of dedicated bucket work.
Diversity, like in a British museum.
Oh, by the way, please let me know if the music is too loud. If the rain noises are too loud. Or if the game is too loud. Okay, then I guess the rain noises aren't loud enough. I like just the really subtle. Alright, how's this for game noise? Wait 1 second. There's no thunder. There's no thunder. Why would I choose relaxing rain noises that had thunder?
Was it shot unintentionally or on purpose?
That'd be so, so silly. That's fair. Well, I do have some sleep aid audios coming out soon. I believe the writer is almost done with them. We'll have about seven audios. Some fantasy themed, some normal themed, some boyfriend experience, and some just comforting. Should be a lot of fun. Shivers your timbers. Ooh. You're gonna have to go to work. You need to make that money, unfortunately. Tell work that you're not alive anymore and that you can't go into work because of dead. And if they ask you to prove it, tell them that is that's not cool and they shouldn't make you prove it. Oh yeah, tell me I'm locked in my basement. I didn't even think of that. Can't go to work today, don't wanna, and also, I hate you. That's what I'd tell my boss. I wouldn't. One day I'll be my own boss. Then you'll see, then you'll all see what it's like. Which sounds more ominous than I meant it to. Is there no water up here? So lame. Give me water. You're gonna be my boss? Don't be my boss, Karami, huh? That means you'd have to pay me. Okay, we're gonna turn off the magnet. Which one's the magnet? Elevator. Magnet. There we go. You can boss me around, that's fine. That one's fine. Cranberries. Oof. Just be a werewolf. Easy peasy. Okay, I want to see what happens to his body if I put it on this conveyor belt. Let's go. Maximum effort. Bye, cottage. Be good. There's my truck. Nice. Very interesting. Okay, back to cleaning.
That must be one of Big Jim's guys.
How long have I been playing this game for? Like a week maybe. Not too long. I play it about 2 hours a day when I do play it. Oh, this is a murder scene. I'm cleaning up the crimes. I'm trying to cover up crimes is what I'm doing. Nice. I believe in you. You got this. Anywho, Alright, I think I just want the elevator on. I don't really need the conveyor belt yet. Yeah. That way I can actually get water easier. Dip, dodge, dive, dip, dodge, dip. Okay, don't need the doors. I do need the elevator. I think I would actually prefer having the doors and the conveyor belt itself. There we go. Bye, meow, kitty cat. No, I shouldn't have moved. Alright, let's find where the water is. I know there was a good source of water over there, but I've blocked it off now. I guess we're going downstairs. Yeah. Have you been pretzeling again, Carmia? How dare you? Thank you for the follow and hello, Sokoa. How you doing, Sokoa? Sokoa. And hello, Nando. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here. You spend most stream with pins and needles in your feet. Honey Bunch. How are you sitting? Sounds awful. Well, don't do that. Why are you blinking? Thank you for the check-in spell and Vanya. Thank you for the stretch. Let me stretch real quick. I can't believe you woke up late. That's crazy. I'm arresting you for crimes of not being here. You're getting arrested. Enjoy your being arrestedness. Yes, but normally people don't tell other people they blink. I'm putting you in a third cage. No one has done meds check yet. I haven't taken my meds, and I won't for a little while, but I do appreciate the check-in. Here we go. Yeah, if you haven't taken your meds yet, please go ahead and do so. Before work, not sporting. Oh, you redeemed the cage? Well, you have to let me know because there's no sound effect for it. There. You get 5 minutes of the cage. Don't you laugh. Don't you laugh at me. Okay, I have a plan. Thank you for the handpats. There's another way to get good water up here, so we're gonna do this. How to uncage? Oh, we just wait for 5 minutes so people redeem cage again. I'll eventually have it done by an activation thing, but right now, I do not have the patience to set it up. Gene the burb, you're a burb. I'm a fish inside. Oh, I need to go up to 2 actually. Thank you for the check-in, Echo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm a fish inside a bird cage. Da 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 da. So give me on the mouth. Show me the world outside. Don't forget, for any personal conversation stuff that y'all want to have, we do have the Discord, where you can reach out to each other and talk there. Exclamation point Discord if you'd like to see that. I think it's DS verify. I didn't de-verify. There it is. Can I poke you with the snake through a cage? No, you may not. For this one right now, I'm doing the things to extend longevity. Because I don't want to have to keep going back to clean out my sponge. Can you pass me candy through the cage? You may pass me candy through the cage. Yeah, don't yell at Vanya. Vanya will cry. I've seen it. That would be a leash. You may most definitely give me sweets. Why'd I have a leash? I just do. So you can attach it to other things. Mm-hmm. Da 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 da. Mm-hmm. There's that. There we go. There is an emote already. Oh, that would be a UV light. They do that when they see the blood. This was so much nicer than trying to make it all the way down and back up every time just to get water. What do we need to know? That's what I'm looking for. Okay, let's up some of this stuff. We got the pressure washer. Increases all settings, including water consumption. Increase capacity. Increase tank capacity. Oh, you can put detergents in it. Wasn't this nice? Mm-hmm. You want me to make a basement kitchen? What am I, making it a mother-in-law suite? I guess I could. There we go. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Fair enough, fair enough. Low blood sugar. Valid enough, I suppose. I mean, probably for the same reason. I think there's probably similar things in it. You'll clean up after them, though? Okay, we'll see, we'll see. Thank you for the new follow. Thank you, Yana the Stargazer. Welcome. If you have 18 plus enabled on your phone, you just need to join the Discord. I mean, read in the rules. And react with a reaction. Apparently they do eat the forbidden candy. Happens way too often for it not to be a steady thing that's happening. room clean? I feel like I'm missing something. Okay, there's trash in here. Oh, there's blood or explosion powder. Insulation is glass. It's fibers of glass. Yay, yummy. You know, the greatest thing, the delicious treat that can't be beat, fibered glass. This is a joke. Don't eat fiberglass. What furnitures are even in here to move? Oh. Really? Okay. Oh, yeah, low on iron. Oh, right. That reminds me. Thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Honestly, a lot of you do are probably low iron. That makes sense. The dog is free. I know. I'm free. No, don't. What do you mean, get me? What do you mean, get me? Yeah, you're still locked away. Oh, hi, Dollar. I'm such a good doggy. There you go.
It won't move like this. Something is blocking the way.
Is it me? It was me.
Jim's reinforcements must have got to it.
Did you like Barney? The dinosaur? The Shark Man. Da da da. Oh, this game is amazing, Dar. I'm loving this game. It's very satisfying. If only I could treat my bedroom like a crime scene. Chat wants to bleed all over my apartment so I can clean it up and justify cleaning it better.
I need to clear the way first.
Got it. You send me a curse message? Valid. That's okay. You don't need to be able to hear me. I don't hear me either. Da 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 da. I have no idea what any of those words mean. But oh, I knocked over the bucket again. And this bucket's just always in my way. That makes sense. That checks out. Thank you for the check-in. Thank you for the lurk. Oh, the song I was humming earlier was In the Hall of the Mountain King. Yeah. Enjoy your Zooms. I believe in you. You got this. Get out of my way, chair. Oh, no, Sakona. Somebody else said something, and I didn't understand that. What were you hearing just now? Pachelbel's canon in D. Do, do. The reason I like Pachelbel's canon in D. Have you ever heard Pachelbel's rant? It's a whole thing about how Pachelbel's canon in D is like a really, really bad cello part. Because it's really boring. And the guy goes, yeah, Pachelbel must have had a cellist who did him really bad. He just decided to write the worst cello parts ever. It's just so endless and boring. And he says, well, you know, at least when I got on a band, I could finally escape Pachelbel's canon. But I couldn't. It's everywhere. And he goes through all the songs that have the Pachelbel part in it. There's a lot of songs. There's a lot of songs that have it. No. You're late, you get 3 cages. That's the rule. You're late, you get 3 cages. Well, 4 cages is mythical. You know, 3 cages might be too many, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. It either becomes a problem for the person inside of the cage or people outside of the cage. We'll see which one. Where's my light? There it is. Nice. Let's see, answer questions, Sinful. That is the question. How big is our cage in general? Good question. All good questions. You better behave yourself so you never have to find out. I'm sure you do, Chrissy. I'll get you one of those body-shaped ones. Why did that feel so funny? Hello, Yuki. Good morning. It felt so goofy to, like, manually throw away something. Just, you know. You haven't slept yet? Honey, get some sleep. Why haven't you slept yet? We'll get a shout out for the lovely Yugi. They're also a fantastic streamer as well. They do ASM arts. Definitely go check them out. Please make sure you get some sleep, unless you're about to go stream, in which case, you know, stream and then go to sleep. Don't wear yourself out, okay? It's hard enough as it is. How long do you stay up? How much sleep are you getting? I don't need to be worried about you, do I? I won't be worried about you. Oh, that's not the worst. Oh, we have an ad break coming up. Just a heads up. Maybe I'll get some sleep. Chat, how about you all keep streaming for me and I just sleep? You think you can do that for me? And I take over, I'm just gonna... Alright, who's the streamer now? Nap time's the streamer. Bet. Go for a nap time. Not it. Oh, but you can't commit crimes in this game. You can only clean. I love it. Did I recently wake up? Oh yeah, I wake up at 3:30 a.m. every morning. I wake up like 10 minutes before I stream. If even that. I had one part of the stream where I would wake up at 3:30 sometimes. I am MST. Yep. Are you MST? You can't prove that I'm destroying evidence. I'm just cleaning. I just got hired to clean. Not a bad thing. I sleep for 6 hours minimum. Honestly, y'all, I was just thinking about one big cage. I'm not thinking about the getting too specific with cages. I don't know why y'all are so perplexed by the cages. I do keep yawning. I need to stop yawning. I need to wake up. Eventually. Alright. Oh, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. Mm-hmm. God, man, that's not enough sleep. Thank you for the follow, Nico. Welcome to the menagerie. And hello, Monet. Kami, I'm gonna ban you from my late streams. Well, yep, banning you from my late streams. You're not getting enough sleep. You're getting 5 hours of sleep. You know women need more sleep than men. Irene, I'm Gene. Who are you? Should I have an existential crisis right now? I don't think I've ever had anybody come in and ask me who I am. 3 hours of sleep is not fine. This is why you're all short. Yes. Yeah, you're short because of genetics and because you don't sleep enough. All of you. You're 6'3"? See, all streamers are required to be above 6 foot. It's true facts, chat. All streamers are required to be above 6 foot. Sorry to tell you this. So any streamer that you go to is tall by default. They made a sign on the Twitch paperwork. I am 6'4". And 6'4" is the perfect height because it's always 1 inch taller than somebody. But I'm exactly 6'4". Because my ex's father was like, I met my ex's father and he was like 6'2", but claimed to be 6'3". And he was like, you must be 6 something. I'm like, okay, let me go check. And it turned out I was half an inch taller than I thought I was, which was nice. Oh, yeah. That means me and you came probably close to the same height. If you were to see us in the same room, we'd probably look the same height. Or if I have like a rough day, I'll probably shrink like 1/4 of an inch. And press my spine. Okay, what else do I need here? I think these rooms are clean, right? Nothing really else I need. You used to be scared of tall people? You shouldn't be. If a tall person gets too hungry, they are legally allowed to eat you as a snack. You might not have ever thought about this, but the American government is heightist. Oh, I don't eat short people. I would never. I just like to know that I do have the option. Mm-hmm. Bye, be good. Have a good day at college. And as far as you know, I don't eat short people. Just so you know, like, I could, though. Hi, Pamo. Sorry to hear you're sick. Megalophobia. Valid. We definitely should, Yuki. We definitely should. We could tower over Saura. Saura was the exception. They let Saura in even though they're tiny. Exactly. The chances of cannibalism are very small, but never zero. I think you're also legally required to at least bully one short person as a tall person. They will take away your height if you quit bullying. It's nothing really that you missed. We're just having a conversation about tall people being allowed to eat short people. And this is why we have to protect gibbets, because people keep trying to cannibalize gibbets. Valid. Enjoy. Bye, Yuki.
Can't pick up anything with a full bag.
There we go. Not gibbets, gibbets. Maybe. We'll have to see. Gibbets is a lovely raccoon.
One here returned fire.
And people keep cannibalizing gibbets. Like 3 times, I think.
What could possibly happen that made them so desperate? I wonder.
Mm-hmm. One second. I have to keep finding ways of bringing back gibbets, but it's been working so far. I do wonder what raccoon tastes like, though. Kind of curious. Bring me a Celsius, too. I could really use the caffeine right now. Then I'm just gonna take a raw shot of G-Subs. Give me a second. Always awful. It does wake you up, though. Thank you for the toxic. You don't share? But you could. Why wouldn't you share with me? Gamey sort of trashy taste. Valid, valid. Me too, though. Me too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad you like my voice. Gets a little bit more agitated in the evening when I get excited, but you know, for now it's good. I can't believe today is Thursday. Can you, chat? I've got so much stuff to do today. Yes. Did y'all not know today was Thursday? Happy Thursday, all my little voidlings. Oh, by share I mean give me it. We don't have to like drink from the same thing. I just mean give me.
The man needed to pay for rent. Ended up paying with his own life.
Oh, nice. Thank you for the follow, Sharp Pup. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here. I hope you enjoy your time here. By the way, tomorrow we should start actually doing book reading and ASMR stream. So get ready for that. We might try to do one of the nightly book readings, actually. Yes, they have. A follow, though, only has a 2% chance of winning. Thank you for the follow, Mysticus. Close, though. One of the highest chances of winning is through rating, actually. Where is the water spout down there? We've gotten close a few times. What if we do... I want to see if this works. If you win, you get gifted a free sub, and if you already have a sub, one is gifted to the community. Oh. I don't remember saying follow me here, but I do appreciate it nonetheless. Maybe I should do that. Ooh. Big clean. There we are. I think one of the next videos I'm going to make, aside from the explaining VTubing to non-VTubers, is going to be the, hey, y'all give me a Gamer Subs affiliate code. Well, I hope you enjoy working out. Enjoy the gym. Tell Jim I say hello. I'll be working out at home. Thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome to the menagerie. EVHJG. Why is there not a gym rat VTuber? Like a rat VTuber that only likes going to the gym? We need a gym rat VTuber. There is? Are they good? Chuck E. Cheese. Why is Chuck E. Cheese not a VTuber? Chad, I almost died. It's okay though. Don't worry about me, I'm fine. Yes, there's a YouTube, there's a Instagram, there's a Twitter, and there's a TikTok. I react most to TikTok comments compared to anything else though. Because they tend to be the most active. YouTube I do a little bit, and Instagram I very little respond to because I don't know what Instagram wants. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. That's fair. Y'all don't have to follow me on any platforms if you don't want to. Only follow me if you want to, okay? Like, it's just another platform for, y'all to see me on. Pick your favorite, and that's all you really need. No, nap time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only one that's different so far is TikTok, because I have some unique ones for TikTok. Mm-hmm. As they should be, Spell. As they should be. Aww. As the dog should. And I appreciate that nap time. My Oshi marks are a red heart and a black heart. Reminiscent to deck of cards. I know, right? I've been seeing more and more, and I think one of the coolest ones is when I see people with the Yoshi marks posting content. It's like, and now they grow. Yeah, no, I keep my family off all my platforms. My father doesn't realize that I muted him on YouTube because he tried to comment on my things, and I'm like, Father, really? You have your face. Oh yeah, unfortunately. I mean, when he was like, "Hey, can you come home for the holidays?" I'm like, "No, I need to do streaming stuff because I can't take any time off, and I need to save my time off to be able to take off time for whatchamacallit, for the donathon." Fortunately, it becomes a thing that makes it like easier if they do know a little bit. That's fair. If I had children, I probably wouldn't want them knowing about my platforms or being associated with my platforms at all either. But I do not. Always need more water. I mean, I don't have a child. I guess I'm child free because I don't have one. Unless that means something different than what I think it means. Yeah, I don't have any children. I don't mind the idea of having a child one day. I just also would have required, Oh, I never want children. I don't know, don't really think about it. You kind of need to be dating somebody first, and have not dated anybody in 8 months. Wait, no. 11 months now.
I need to clear the way first.
No, child free does mean that. Child free does mean if you have the view of being child free, like if you're like, hey, I am child free, and you put that in a dating profile, that means you do not want kids. And child free as in child free one word, not free of child. There's even a dating platform for people who are child free called cfdating.com. No, fair enough. Not everybody want this. I just googled it. I don't know, someone's talking about Mbreg, I think. Cat eating dog food. That's not a cat then, it's a dog. See, I had to find out this way, but your cat's actually a dog. Plot twist.
Need to empty the trash can first.
There we go. Alright, a little bit more here.
Something is blocking the way. You can't park here, mate.
You can't park here.
Forklift certified.
Nice. You can't park there, mate.
Completely flattened. Really did put up some fight.
In what regard, Karumiya? You mean more of like where I would like to live forever, or going on vacation? I think the ocean, probably, though. Probably the ocean. I'm very water-based. I really like being in the water. In fact, if ever I feel sick, I immediately just go take a shower. Because I feel like a shower always heals everything. Living under the ocean? Oh, that'd be terrifying. I don't want to live under the ocean. Switzerland is nice, and I think Switzerland would be my exception because Switzerland is beautiful. Switzerland is gorgeous, and it has the rivers going through it, which make it worthwhile. I also do like the mountains a lot. I feel like just a lot of the mountains I'm in right now are very dry, and I need to be kept wet. I like the humidity. Island is nice too. As long as it's moving water, I'm happy. I think I could do a river.
I hate my life.
You're more of a forest. Forests are nice, and I like the German forests a lot. A lot of rain. Rain is nice as well. I mean, hey, you can go to all of the UK or go to Denmark. Denmark is still so funny to me. Ah, yes, we decided to make all these parking meters. We replaced all of our parking meters with some good, environmentally friendly solar parking panels. Great, great, great. How much sun do you get? Why would that matter? In other news, most of Denmark's, or at least Amsterdam's, parking meters are absolutely free because they are not running, and you can't use them when they're out of power. love the German forests. I know it's hard to believe sometimes. The sun is real. They did not make it up just for anime. Good morning, Red Faye. How are you doing today? The son does have beef. I'm glad he slept well. Very glad he slept well. Sleeping well is important. Oh, 100%. I have thought about that quite a lot, Luna. I still consider it to this day, so if ever my stream ends and you never see me again, understand that I probably just went off to live in the forest somewhere. I was writing a book about that, actually. Morning, Lucy. You are late, then. Chad, remember, if I vanish one day, it's not your fault. Well, maybe you in particular, a person that I'm thinking of right now, but no one else's fault. I didn't say it was you nap time. I didn't say it was not you, but I definitely did not say it was you. Don't put that on yourself. Unless you should. Not talking to me. I said, if I ever vanish, know that it's none of your faults, except maybe you. But I'm not going to say who you is. You could be anybody, the person I'm thinking about right now. It's 5:07 a.m. for me. Who knows who it could be? Could be me. Don't eat gibbets, we've just been through this. Remember, no eating gibbets. Gibbets is an endangered species. They're not allowed to be eaten. They're endangered. Why become a pretty princess? I refuse. I always sleep decently, I suppose. No eating gibbets. Not allowed. I would like my nails done. I need to get my nails done again. I need to get my nails done. I need to get my eyebrows did. I need to get my hair made up. Okay, if you all see a blue tub anywhere, let me know, okay? Could be anywhere. What color will you paint your nails? Probably just black this time. Or I'll get like a clear coat just for strengthening. Sometimes I do black and red. What I'll do, when I'm dating somebody, my nails will usually be a simplified version of what they have. Always gel. Always gel. Oh. Well, it takes me a little while to notice sometimes. I'm such a good doggy. There you go. Where's this bucket? If you were a bucket, where would you be? Don't take my bucket. What if it fell down the hole? Well, don't. Rude. Rude AF. I guess we'll start on the top and make our way down. Best I can do. It's gonna be so annoying if this tub is somewhere like all the way at the top. Somebody decided to use it for something else. Oh, did you do pronoun redeem? I go by he, they. What pronouns do you use, chat? He, him. Very nice. Jibby, 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 jibbits. Not telling. Fair enough, spell. You legally are not required to. She, they, brat. Sounds about right. She, dumb ditties. Ooh, thing. Aha. Silas themed nails. Interesting. She her baby girl. Valid, valid. They, them. Nice. All good choices. All good choices. If I was a bucket, do 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 do. See, I would do 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 bucket. Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bump shaped like a deer. D-U-I know how about you die? I drive 100 miles. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I see how to get to the body. Where is it? It's here somewhere. I know it's down here somewhere. I couldn't have gotten that far. Man, I don't understand where it could be. Chad, did you steal it from me? Did you hide the bucket somewhere? There's only 2 of them. I can't find them anywhere. Stop it. Stop hiding them from me. I gotta be here somewhere, right? Wait. Bucket. Okay. One more. Good morning, I'm Burn Jinx. How you doing? Bucket. One more. I should have a sleep check redeem, and if you redeem it, it just says I'm awake. You're kidding me.
Aha! Nothing shall get past me.
This is missing furniture. Where's it supposed to be? I remember when we need chairs later. That's where we need to get them from. Oh, hello, Danny. Hi, Danny. How you doing? Welcome. I found the bucket. It took me a while, but I found the bucket. Good bucket. Best bucket. And I need to figure out where all these chairs go. I have somebody's chairs. If that was a chair, where would I go? Did I hydrate? Oh, jeez. Hey for the headbands. Have you all seen the Tom Grove YouTuber, by the way? Well, this is my ASMR stream. Carmia, lovely Carmia. You do understand that your first priority is your own life, right? Like, stream comes second. I really appreciate you, but stream's not that important. So you never need to apologize. That goes for all of you, by the way. If y'all are late or you're too busy to come to stream, like, I get it. You know that, right? I care about all of you. I want you to make sure you're taking care of yourselves. Now I'm still gonna bully you for being late because how could you? I ask so little from you. Oh, you're fun, sweetie. You welcome them more often than I do. Because I don't notice sometimes. I get so in the zone. Oh, yeah, no, that's a you issue, though. I personally... Well, yeah, I have fun bullying you. In fact, make more mistakes so I can make fun of you for them. Okay? What is the point of having enjoyment in bullying and making fun of people if nobody does anything I can make fun of? Hi, Scoop, sweetie. I was just thinking about you. I need to check on the writing. This is what I was thinking about, because I want to record it. Also, oh, by the way, Chad, guess what? I might be in the trailer for a video game called Darkenstein. You might hear my voice very soon in a trailer for a game. It's just an indie game, of course, but, yeah. No. It'll be done in a more chill announcer kind of voice. I'm recording the lines today after work. I'm already in one game. I think it's called Red Chaos. Don't drop your phone on your face, dummy. Why would you do that? Don't do that, goofy. I bet it hurt too. Stop hurting yourself. My hair's always a mess, but I prefer my hair a mess. A curly mess. Random urge. Yes. No, there's not. Don't know what you're talking about, chum. This is why I need to stop gambling against my chat, because my chat cheats. Y'all cheat. I know you do. There's no way you won that many times. Yeah, I got paid actual money to be in the main dress the entire stream. Oh, sorry, I was talking about the tomboy VTuber. I like them a lot. I think they're funny. They're definitely like heavy on the tsundere. That's so funny. Oh yeah, I played Cult of the Lamb, and there's a gambling mini game. And you can play against chat, and we put stakes on it. No, but she is like the tsundere, like actually tsundere, like impressively tomboy tsundere. That I was amazed by how well she plays into it. It was, oof, fantastic acting, great character. Like to the point of like yelling out of anger. It was, if I can remember what her name was. Oh, don't let your eyes burn. That might have been it. Maybe, we'll see. No, not that one. Not that one. I'll have to find her later. What do you mean, Dana? History? Do you mean lore? What are you talking about, Danny? Not Dana. Sorry. Just thinking about things. And brainstorming. I need to find a cool, big VTubers that want to collab. People are nice and goofy. If y'all could see me collab with any streamer, who would you want to see me collab with? Oh yeah, and you're not allowed to go out, Poison. Poison, you're staying here forever. You don't get to leave. I play with Dar every weekend. Nap time. That Dar doesn't count. I'm gonna play with Dar on Sunday again. I play with Dar every Sunday, sweetie. What about Pinky? So I guess I haven't played with Pinky in a while. Thank you for the follow. Greatly appreciated. Welcome, Yundere. Interesting. I like the vibe. Let's see what we have here. Nyeko. Oh. Nyeko is funny because, yeah, see, I keep having people mention him, and I've never heard of him before. But I saw some of his stuff and it was very interesting. Oh, Danny Cat, sweetie, honey. I would never want you to feel uncomfortable. You'll pick things up very quickly, I promise. My community is very kind. But if you feel too anxious and this doesn't feel like a good fit for you, that's okay too. Just make sure you're enjoying your time. Whose chat? Nyeko's chat is overly sexual? That's fair. I'm trying to avoid a lot of that kind of stuff, but I think I did watch him a little bit and how he shut down people. And that's something I need to work on. You've been gutting the house. Did something happen or are you just doing it for fun, Snow? I mean, yeah, no, you feel me like, sweetie. Thank you for the follow, Danny Cat. I appreciate it. Welcome to the menagerie. And don't worry, there's a bunch of new stuff coming very, very soon. Hope you enjoy your time here. Remember, only do what you feel comfortable with. Sure, Anastasia. Why not? As long as it's nothing too crazy. Oh, okay. Yeah. Good luck, Snow. Okay, there's one more clue that we're missing about what happened here. I don't know where it could be, though. If I were a clue, where would I be? Oh. Yeah. I mean, do you know what's funny, though? Every generation has this kind of thing. I mean, I never thought about how cringy a lot of the millennial stuff and the Gen Z stuff was until now that, like, I've heard it from other perspectives. You know, the millennials had the, oh my god, that's so random, and like the, oh my god, I love bacon and gur and blah, 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 blah. You just lost the game. You just lost the game. That's another one. How dare you, by the way? How dare you? You come into my house spouting those old magics. I was there when they were written. Actually, I probably wasn't. I know that game's probably ancient. Okay, I'm missing a clue somewhere. Yeah. What is the cringy Gen Z things? I feel like millennials went overboard with a lot of their cringe and they just put it on shirts and everything. They were obsessed with their cringe. I think in response, Gen Z kind of like toned it down a lot. Ooh, you're right. Okay. Unfortunately, this is the kind of the end of the stream. I do have work I need to go do. So, lovely. This has been a great stream. Really appreciate all of you so very, very much. And you know, if I could stream longer, I most definitely would. But unfortunately, we're hitting that point again. So let's see where we can go. What's this? Well, that was awful. Ooh. Send you to Yuki. Yuki was here earlier. Jack, go say hi to the lovely catboy. Thank you for the headpats. They are a fantastic ASM artist. So we're gonna do a little bit of EP raid. Alright, lovelies. Copy that message. Get ready. We'll send you over there in just a second. Remember to behave yourselves, okay? I appreciate you all so very, very much. It's been a lovely little stream. And I'll see you in the afternoon. Get a lot more energy. We're going to be playing The Forest with crowd control. Alright, everybody. Bye for now. Bye-bye.